Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. Here I am out in the scrub in the bush in Suffolk in the UK. So welcome along. It's a lovely, lovely day here. I hope it is as wonderful where you are. If it's your first time here, welcome along. It's wonderful to have you here. I hope that you enjoy the content, what I'm doing today. And if you're a returning subscriber, or 423, I think it is, amazing. Of you. Thank you so much for being here. As always, it's an honor and a privilege to have so many people joining me for these walks and talks through wonderful places in nature, and I'm honored. So thank you for being here. So all that said, today I'm doing a little video because of some information that has come out that I felt might be worthwhile talking about, and obviously some other thoughts and opinions. This is what this channel is. It's my thoughts and opinions on things that are happening in the world. And I thought I'd best report on this. Now, for those of you who don't know, John McAfee didn't kill himself in prison, okay? It's been widely reported that he killed himself in prison, but he didn't, just like Epstein didn't kill himself. So John McAfee was reported to have hung himself in prison after he tweeted, "I'm comfortable, I'm happy in here, I have friends, the food is good, and if I do kill myself, a la Epstein, it wasn't me who did it." This is John McAfee. If you don't know who he is, very colourful character within the cyber world. Heavily involved in cryptocurrency, heavily involved in, if you don't know, McAfee antivirus software. That's the guy who developed it, who also had backdoors into all the servers that he was protecting through his software, just so you know. Now, one of the other things that came out of this, McAfee not killing himself, is that he has already said he had a dead man switch with something like 31 terabytes of information that should he not be here anymore, will be released onto the world. Now, when he died, his Twitter and Instagram accounts were deleted, funnily enough, after he died. Strange. Who did that? He also said that he had this information stored at his condo in Florida. And I don't know whether you saw that, but that condo, that building actually fell down. Purely a coincidence, I'm sure. Now, let's say when, but should that information be released, when that information is released, who will be implicated? What did they do, John McAfee has been working in the cyber community with government organisations and FBI and CIA and all those alphabet agencies, NSA, for a long, long time. He has been what people in this community, the red pill community, if you will, would call a grey hat. He's not a white hat, so he's not purely clean. I don't think anybody is, including myself. He's not a black hat, which means he's not completely dirty, but he's somewhere in between. But he knows where the bodies are buried. So this event, whilst most people would just sort of skim over it in the news and think it's not that big a deal, it's a big deal. It's a very, very, very big deal. Now, I remember a couple of videos back when I warned everybody the next 6 to 8 weeks, probably till the end of August, is going to be insane. Absolutely insane. Crazy. The information that's going to come out, the implications of that information is going to shock the world. And it's not just from him, it's from multiple sources. There's a lot of things going on at the moment. We are in the midst of a paradigm shift in the financial markets, although you wouldn't know. The price of gold and silver is going down for some reason. Not that it's been manipulated by paper contracts at all. That wouldn't happen. Wall Street doesn't do that, and the big banks don't do that, even though, I mean, I'd say probably 90 to 95% of the world's biggest banks have been found guilty of manipulating markets, including gold and silver, Forex. But like I say, nothing to see here. It doesn't happen. So there's a lot going on at the moment from multiple different sources, and there's a lot of information that's coming out. So watch this space. End of August, I think we will see a completely different thing. Lots of different things, lots of information that implicates a lot of people. We'll see how that all plays out. But we are in the midst of a paradigm shift in the financial markets, in banking through digital assets. Don't believe me, just listen to, I've been in this space for 3.5 years, a little bit longer, where, 3.5 years ago when you were talking about cryptos and digital assets, people thought you were insane. And here we are, 3.5 years later, nearly 4 years later, that I've been in anyway. There's been, cryptos, Bitcoin's been around for about 10 years, a little bit longer, 11 years. But 4 years ago, there was no talk of this in this space. No politicians were talking about it. There was no regulations being made. This is, a very interesting time. In fact, not 2 weeks ago, I was on it wasn't a Zoom call, it was a Microsoft Team call, I think it was, with the Bank of England and the Bank of International Settlements as they were setting up their innovation hub in London. I was on that call to get inside knowledge. I mean, this is the thing. I recognise who's controlling the game. I recognise where the money comes from. The central banks control the money, and all these people who are Bitcoin maxis who follow Bitcoin and think Bitcoin is going to take over the financial system. Where is all the money? Where do you think all the money is? Where do you think the money comes from? The cash that you use on a daily basis that you're going to buy Bitcoin with, where do you think it comes from? Oh, from the financial system, the banks, the central banks who control it. Right. Okay. But you're going to do away with that financial system, Bitcoiners. Oh, yes. Bitcoin's going to go round it all. With what money? Yeah. And the narrative is definitely shifting on digital assets, cryptos as well, Bitcoin, especially proof of work. Proof of work doesn't work. So for all those people, mining, talking about mining, but mining is using electricity from renewable sources. It's like saying, but I have a mansion with 50 bedrooms, and I leave the lights on all night because that's when the electricity's cheap. So I just use the electricity at night time. I leave all the lights on. It's not wasteful if the electricity's cheap at night time. Okay, it sounds like an excuse to me because Bitcoin failed in what it was supposed to do, to be a currency that costs so much to use. Like the actual costs of using Bitcoin is phenomenally high. Ethereum's even worse. But no, let's not talk about that, because Bitcoin and Ethereum are the only ones that have been cleared by the SEC, and there's an SEC lawsuit against Ripple, XRP, right? SEC lawsuit. So that proves XRP is no good, and because Bitcoin is 30,000, that just proves Bitcoin's the best, because it's measured in dollars that from a central bank that you don't think is any good. The world is in lunacy stage. Now, to just take it to another level, just to, change direction a little bit, if you will. I'm here in the UK, obviously. Now, for those of you who don't know, we're still locked down, okay? Officially, until the 19th of July. We were supposed to be lifted on the 21st of June, but our illustrious Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, came out and said, no, it's still far too dangerous, even though, heaps of people have had the sticky, jabby thing, you're not allowed to talk about because you get banned. And that leads to censorship as well. Now on Facebook, I'm now not allowed to use Facebook Live because I'm a bad person apparently. I haven't been suspended, my account hasn't been suspended, and I have had no warnings, or they have not informed me that I've broken community guidelines, nothing like that. I haven't been abusive, haven't threatened to kill anyone, nothing like that. But now they have restricted my use of going live on Facebook. Why is that? But we're not being silenced, or our information isn't being suppressed, because that doesn't happen. And Facebook's a private company, so they can do whatever they want, including shifting the goalposts of the community guidelines. So a post that I posted last year that was fine is now no good. You with me? So, like I say, we're still in lockdown here, officially, until the 19th of July, until they move it again, and then they'll move it again, and then they'll move it again. We're not coming out of lockdown. And Australia, all my friends in Australia who said, oh, we lock down hard. That's why we don't have to lock down again. Oh, they lock down again? Oh, okay. Now, the question that's not being asked by anybody, anywhere, and that I don't understand, we now know, it's been proven that this virus came from a lab in China. We know it, okay? And the ban has been lifted on being able to say that, amazingly. But we now know that it came from a lab in China, okay? Now, we're hearing about these variants. Where'd the variants come from? Why is nobody asking if they came from a lab as well? Or even if they even exist? But let's just say that they do, for argument's sake. Why is nobody asking if they came from a lab as well? Don't you think that now that we know the answer to the first one, that somebody would ask that question? Why is nobody asking? Oh, but it's a mutation, I hear you say. Is it a natural mutation? Now, the other question I want to ask is, if we know that this came from China in the first place, why isn't China having any of the variants? Nobody's asking that either. Why is China open and everything's running and operational and everything's good over there, but none of the variants? Why is that? Now, here in the UK, as I said, we're here in the UK, we're still locked down. But amazingly, the Football European Cup is going ahead. Now, we've had a member of the Scottish team come out as testing positive, of course, because the tests are faulty, but we're not allowed to talk about that either. False positives, 95% false positives. And where did the PCR test come from? The PCR test, the guy who invented it said they should never be used to diagnose anything, but that's okay. Where did the PCR test come from? Where they're actually manufactured? Oh, in China. I trust that. You know, who wouldn't? So, but you know, we've got the European Cup football playing here. A member of the Scottish team became tested positive. Now the rest of the team could go out and play, but we've been told that if somebody in your bubble, like as school children, if one of the school children tests positive, then the whole class has to stay home. But yet, the Scottish players were allowed to play. Now, Matt Hancock, the man who should be in prison for crimes against humanity, but we're not allowed to talk about that either. He said in an interview, well, this is football, it's okay. Elite sports is okay. And politicians, they can do what they want as well. But the average person, well, we can't. We can't do that. We can't get together in groups like the politicians did at the G7 and hug and kiss each other. We certainly can't sing and dance because it's like I'm stuck in Footloose, that movie Footloose, where that town band singing and dancing because I feel like I'm stuck in Footloose. Yeah, if only I could sing and dance, it'd be wonderful. I'd go out and sing and dance everywhere. But you know, we've got a hierarchical, we've got a class system that means elite sports players can travel the world and not have to self-isolate for 2 weeks at their own cost. Same with politicians, they can do whatever the fuck they like. You and me, well, you can go to a wedding with no more than 30, but you can't sing or dance, okay? Now, you can stay at a camping site with 200 other people, but you can't have somebody staying in your backyard in a tent. Now, I get upset about these things, as we all should. Now, I've been told, well, we shouldn't really get upset. We should just... But what are we supposed to do? Should we just grin and bear it, bend over and pull our ass cheeks apart so we can get fucked some more? I don't want to do that. I don't think anybody should be doing that. But it's more and more every single day. It's in our face. It's getting rubbed in our face like, you pillocks, you idiots, you fools. Ha ha ha. We'll just keep on spitting on you because you're less than nothing. And people just accept it. And they're like, well, we have to do what we're told. Why? Why? Back in the 60s, people fought against oppressive government rules, against war, against all these things. And people supported that. They're like, yes, people People, people now ask, oh, how did the Nazis get away with what they did and all those people that went along with it? Well, now we know. Now we know how it was done. It's exactly the same thing. They're using fear as a weapon to get people so scared that they're willing to give away their rights. In fact, they're willing to go so far as having a untested, unlicensed, sticky, squirty thing that you put in your arm. You know what I'm talking about. Because they're so fearful. Or because they're being pressured by their friends and family, or because they're being pressured by their workplace, or they're being pressured by the government, or, there's so many excuses. Just ask people why they're getting it. I'm doing it to protect others. Okay. I'm doing it so I can go on holiday. I'm doing it for, there's not a single person that I've spoken to that said I'm doing it for my health. Not one. Zero. Why is that? The thing is, people like me, and if you're watching this, probably people like you as well, maybe you disagree. People like me are vilified. We are mocked, we are laughed at, we are pointed at, we are accused of being selfish, we're accused of all sorts of things, being a conspiracy theorist, too stupid to read, I mean, you name it. I've heard it. I've had it directed at me, I've had it all levelled at me. Now, I asked a question on Facebook, which is probably the reason why they won't let me live stream now. And I said, okay, you science lovers, for all you people who believe in science and the theory of evolution or survival of the fittest, are we ready to talk about how that applies to our world right now with this virus? Because if you're not ready to talk about that, do you really believe, the theory of evolution is fine in theory, but in practice you don't really believe it? Because if you did, then all this people dying would actually be benefiting the species, wouldn't it? Now, that sounds harsh, obviously. And, it's, I've been told, oh, you want to kill my grandma? Well, you know what? I'm a grandfather. 4 times over. I'm a grandfather. So does this grandfather, do I count? Does my voice count for anything? Of course not, because it goes against the narrative. Anybody that speaks out against this, your voice doesn't count. It holds no weight. It holds 0 weight, especially who I am. I'm a white man in my 40s, nearly 50, which means I'm the problem. So we're told every day in the media. Now, these narratives, as I've said in my last video, the narratives are what you have to watch. The reason there's so much screaming in the media against voices like mine, against voices like anybody that speaks against truth to power, if you will. The reason there's so much pushback and the reason there's so much rhetoric and there's so much anger directed at people who are asking questions is because they realise that the game is up. And they were in the final throes of them submitting and submitting to the people because they know that the game is up. And when these people are implicated in crimes against humanity and treason, you think they're going to go down alone? So I think the message that I want to get out, I mean, what we're living through right now is unfair, and that for me is like a big trigger. Fairness, to me is the biggest trigger I have. If something is unfair, it really riles me. It riles me like nothing else. If you're going to have one rule for one person, it has to be for everybody. Accountability. Look at politicians; they're getting away with literally murder. Sir Edmund Heath, former British Prime Minister, paedophile who killed children. Okay, literally got away with murder. You think he's alone? Oh, no. There's many people in positions of power currently who've done exactly the same or worse. So, there's the unfairness of the situation. And I keep on questioning people and I keep on saying to people, so what should we do? Really, at the end of the day, what do we do? Because we can't get angry and violent because that's exactly what they want. They want us to get violent so that they can just turn around and say, see, we told you these people were bad. These right-wing white supremacist scumbags there told you. So what do we do? What do we do to push back against this without coming across as trying to be harming people? We can try and educate people, which is what this channel is. I put information out there. I don't expect people to believe it. Go and fact check it. Don't use Snopes, please. But go and have a look for yourself. That's all it is. I'm asking questions, and I want you to ask questions as well, because we need to ask questions to get answers that make sense, because nothing at the moment makes sense, and it's not fair what's happening. You get a lot of people who were out of work. I was out of work for a year, getting paid at 40% of what I used to get. I struggled. I had, companies up my backside trying to get money out of me, which I just said, take me to court. There's nothing I can do about it, But it's this unfairness that really riles me. And I keep on asking the same question. What do we do? What can we do in the face of all this happening? What can we do? Civil disobedience. Say, no, I'm not doing it. I won't wear a mask. I've already said that many times. I won't do it. Never, ever will I wear a mask. I won't do it. I'm not doing it. Not once, not ever. I won't get tested. I won't do it. Sorry. Not doing it. And I certainly won't get the sticky, squirty thing in my arm. It'll never happen. Now, I said before that somebody I knew worked in care. It's my wife. Works in aged care. Now, for a year and a half, while this has all been going on, my wife worked with elderly, the most vulnerable in society, okay? She worked with the most vulnerable in society and was there doing extra hours, taking care of these people who quite often were bedbound, okay? Do you know how many of those people got sick and died in the last year and a half while my wife was caring for these people? Zero. None. Zero. None of them. None of them got the Rona and died. Not one. But now my wife is being threatened with her position, her job, being told by the government that if you don't submit and take the squirty, that you don't have a job anymore. Now, there's many people in nursing and in care that are saying, well, that's it, we're going to leave. And it's the same thing my wife is going to do. How are these people going to be cared for? These vulnerable people, the most vulnerable in society, we were told that this was all about caring for, to take care of. How are they going to be cared for if people like my wife are going to leave the industry because they refuse to fucking give in to this tyranny? Who's going to take care of these vulnerable people? And the nurses and the doctors in hospitals who refuse to go ahead with this as well. Who's going to be looking after people in hospital if these people leave their positions because they're being forced into doing something that they don't want to do? These are questions we need to ask, but they're not being asked because it goes against the narrative. Now, all we can do is practice civil disobedience and just say, no, I'm not taking part. I won't take part in this experiment. I won't take part in your social programming. I won't take part in the, in what's going on. And push back. I won't do it. Stand your ground. Hold the line. Hold the line. Stand your ground and don't be pushed around. Don't be forced into doing something you don't want to do. If you want to go along with it and you want to continue going along and wear a mask, then good. Who am I to tell you not to? But, you shouldn't be forced into doing something you don't want to do. No one should. You want to go and get the squirty? Great. Good luck. You want an experimental, then good luck. That's all I got to say. Who am I to tell you no? It's your body. You can do whatever the hell you want with it. But civil disobedience is what we have to practice. They did it in the 60s to try and fight against the war. And here we are, and who's fighting? Who's fighting? Who is fighting? Who is fighting for the freedoms of everybody? The conspiracy theorists. Why are we the only ones fighting? Why is everyone else just giving up their power and giving away their rights and giving away their body? It's time to make a choice. There's no more sitting on the fence anymore. There's not. If you can't see that there's a class system happening where we are being divided, you're either with us or you're against us. Is that bringing people together? We all need to see what's going on. When you have a class system that has one rule for them, one rule for you, regardless of how you view this situation we've been living with for a year and a half, if you've got one rule for one group of people, another rule for another group of people, then that should make you question things. even if you completely go along with the narrative that it's all real, you know, you should still be asking that question. Why can elite sports people still go and do their thing and fly around the world, and politicians as well, and you can't? So we have to practice civil disobedience and get together with people, like-minded people, and speak with each other and speak with other people who don't agree with you, because you can't live in a echo chamber where you just all agree, because then what do you learn? You need to be sort of feeding back with each other and have a melting pot of ideas where we can discuss and talk about these things so we can all move forward. Because if you don't, we all stay still and we all get blasted by the very politicians that are trying to enslave us. Now, all that said, go out into nature, get some fresh air, go out and meet some people, do good, be good. And if you do that, we're going to make the world a much better place than what it is, because we won't be living in fear and hatred and division. So that's my message for today. Do good, be good, be good. Go out and do some good for other people, and do good for yourself, because you'll go along much further and you'll benefit society. Look after yourself, look after each other. I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye.